Did you ever file any charge of harassment against the police at any time before June of 1994?
No.
Okay. You ever attend any LAPD Christmas parties?
Not that I recall.
You ever attend any LAPD functions?
Not that I recall.
You don't remember attending annual Christmas parties?
I know I didn't attend it, not annually in the end, but
You know,
I don't recall.
Christmas
I don't
parties.
ever recall doing that. No.
Any kind of parties or functions?
Over my years in LA, I've attended a lot of functions, and I can't really recall any that was specifically LAPD.
You ever autograph footballs for officers?
Oh, yes.
LAPD officers?
Every officer, everybody, yes.
Did you charge them?
I never charged.
And did not charge the LAPD, correct?
Well, I don't know if an LAPD officer drove up and had a football and asked me to sign it, I'm sure I didn't charge him.
And you signed other things for them too besides footballs?
I've signed pictures for everybody, LAPD or whatever they might be.
Okay. Your son Jason was given a LAPD cap from a police officer?
I would have assumed so.
Do you know who gave it to him?
No, probably Ron Ship. I don't know.
You just don't know?
I don't know.
What reasons would the LAPD come visit you in their unofficial capacity?
Don't answer that question. That calls for speculation on the part of this witness.
Well, what did you understand the purpose of the visits to do?
If they told you what the reason they came, you can relate that.
It doesn't have to be told.
Don't guess or speculate.
You can answer.
They drive by, they
Yeah.
look, they talk. And sometimes they'd ask for an autograph. Since the trial, on 2 occasions, they came by to tell me I got screwed.
Okay. Now, before the trial, when they would stop by and talk, how would they get to the front door?
They wouldn't. Normally, I don't ever recall them knocking on my front door. I mean, maybe Ship has before, but normally if they see me in my yard, I'd spend a lot of time in my yard, and I didn't keep my gates locked previously.
And they would see you and you would converse and chat and just social talk, right?
Yeah.
Pleasantries, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your dealings with the LAPD were cordial?
Yeah. For the most part, yes.
Okay. Do you, do you know any other, but before June of 1994, did you know any other police officers by name other than Ron Ship?
Yes, years ago, and I can't think of his name now. When I was at USC, there was a guy who worked for LAPD. Nice guy, but I think he stopped working for LAPD back then also. He was in a shootout and stopped working.
Which officers came by and said you got screwed?
I don't know. I don't know the ones that came by and asked for an autograph either.
The ones that came by and said you got screwed, you don't know who they are?
No, they were just outside of my house, and my security was around.
Did they explain to you how you got screwed?
No, they just said. One guy on a motorcycle drove up to me once and said it also.
Did he explain what he meant?
No, he drove off. Said, gave me the thumbs up. Said they tried to screw you. Gave me the thumbs up and left.
They being whom?
If you had an impression, you
I'm
could
assuming the prosecution.
Did anybody ever say to you, these officers who drove by and spoke to you since you got out of jail, ever say to you that the LAPD tried to screw you?
No.
Okay. Do you believe you were framed by the LAPD?
You don't answer that question.
Why not?
Because that's argumentative. It's irrelevant and material what his state of mind is.
Do you have any information that you were framed by the LAPD?
He's not going to answer. You're not going to try this case through him. You're going to try
I'm
it through
trying to
evidence.
find out what information
His
he
state
has.
of mind is irrelevant.
I'm not asking for a state of mind. I'm asking
You're
for
not
what
gonna answer-
information he has, Mr.
No,
Baker.
you're not.
Yes,
You're
I am.
not going to answer that question. Mr.
Well, give me an objection so we can just have a clean record.
I did give you an objection, and I gave you an instruction. It's irrelevant, immaterial, and it calls for a state of mind, and it's argumentative.
When did you first think you were being framed by the LAPD?
Don't answer that question. We're not going to go through a deposition of his state of mind.
Do you contend that you were framed by the LAPD?
I'll do the contentions, and he is not going to answer that question.
As of June 17, Mr. Simpson, did you have any information that caused you to believe that you were being framed or set up by the LAPD?
No.
Let's talk a little bit about June 17. June 17. You were present at the home of Mr. Kardashian on the morning of June 17th?
Yes.
Okay. And you were there in the morning, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to answer yes.
Oh, yes.
And who was present with you? Or who was in the house?
Paula Barbieri. At one point, AC came.
A.C. Cowlings?
Yes, Al Cowlings. At one point, Shapiro and, of course, Kardashian. I believe Kardashian's girlfriend.
What's her name?
Denise Hallecky. I believe Nicole Pulvers, and then some doctors. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure Dr. Lee was there. Dr. Huizinga, I believe, was there. I believe Mike Bat. I'm saying this only because I've heard these guys talk since then. So I believe that he was there.
Who?
Mike Batten, Michael Batten. That's all I can recall right now.
Bob Shapiro was of course your lawyer in the criminal
yeah,
case.
He came there. I know he came.
And Cowlings and Kardashian were your very close friends, right?
Yeah, they have been my friends for years.
And Paula Barbieri was your girlfriend?
Yeah, basically, yes.
And Denise Halicki was Mr. Kardashian's girlfriend, right?
Yes.
Nicole Pulvers was whom?
She was assisting Bob Kardashian.
And these doctors, Lee, Huizenga, and Baden, they were all retained in connection with your criminal case?
Yes.
Was Huizenga a pre-existing doctor of yours?
No. He had only done something for me on one other occasion previous to this.
When was that?
I was on a plane coming back with the Raiders once, and I was having some major eye problems, and he sort of helped me out.
Was that when he was the Raider team physician?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, and previous to that day, that week, he had done a physical on me and stuff.
The week of June 13th,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
He did that on June 15th, correct?
I believe so.
Okay. Now, you understood that you were going to be arrested,
Yes.
and the arrangements were that you were going to be taken down to LAPD?
I believe so. I believe they were gonna drive me down my, Superior. I believe that was the arrangement.
Shapiro was going to drive you to the police station?
Yes.
Okay. And what time were you scheduled to go to the police station?
I don't recall.
Were you on any medication
Yes.
at that time?
Yes.
In the morning?
Yes.
What were you on?
I have no idea.
Who gave it to you?
I think Dr. Fairstein.
He was there also?
I don't recall if he was there. I know I think he was the one that prescribed the medication.
What did he prescribe?
I don't know. You'd have to ask him.
Did he give the pills to someone else to administer to you?
I don't know. I know that when I needed them, Kathy or Paula would get them. And early when he was around, he'd give it to me.
Kathy Randa was there also?
I believe she came there that day. I'm not 100% sure.
Before you left?
Yes.
Okay. By the way, are you on any drugs or medication now?
Yes.
What are you taking?
Zolpidem and prescription Motrin.
Motrin?
Yeah.
For what?
Pain.
What kind of pain?
Just arthritic, whatever. General arthritic pains and things.
And what's the other medication?
It's called Zolpidem. It's something that a rheumatologist has had me on for a few years now.
Going back to when?
93 sometime.
Are you taking anything else right now?
No.
And do those medications in any way interfere with your ability to hear, understand, and answer truthfully my questions?
Not that I know of.
Okay. So going back to the morning of the 17th, do you remember what time you were scheduled to depart for LAPD?
No.
Okay. What did you do on the morning of the 17th at the house?
I think they were taking pictures of me. I know I did some writing. It's pretty much all I recall.
They took pictures of you, meaning parts of your anatomy?
I believe that was that morning. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that
The doctors did?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that was that morning.
Did you receive any injections?
Not that I recall.
Okay. Did they take any blood?
I don't recall.
What kind of writing did you do?
Just some writing, putting some of my thoughts down, thoughts that I had for friends and things.
Did you write individual letters to
Just
different
basic
people?
letter. Just a basic letter.
One basic letter?
I may have written 2 basic letters.
Okay. The one basic letter, is that the letter that was later on that day read by Bob Kardashian?
I believe so.
Okay. You wrote that
Yes.
in your own handwriting?
Yes.
And you wrote it the morning of the 17th?
Yes.
Did anybody assist you in writing it?
No.
You wrote it all yourself?
Yes.
Anybody dictate anything to you?
No.
Anybody tell you what to say?
No.
Anybody suggest what to say?
No.
Anybody review it after you finished it?
No.
What did you do with it when you finished writing it?
I don't know if immediately when I finished writing it, but I may have given it to Barbara. I don't know what I did immediately when I finished writing it. I either gave it to Bob the whole or to HC. I don't recall who.
Did you put it in an envelope?
Yes.
And did you seal the envelope?
Yes.
How did you address the envelope?
I don't know if I addressed it to anyone.
What did
I'm
you,
not sure.
when you handed it to Bob, is that what you said?
Yeah.
What did you
Said Bob or Al. I
Bob
believe.
or Al? What did you say it was?
I just told him to keep this.
What did you tell them to do with it?
Just keep it.
Did you tell them to open it,
No.
to read it?
No.
Did you tell them that that you'll know when it's appropriate to open and read this?
No.
Did you say that?
No.
What was your purpose in giving it to them?
There was just some thoughts I wanted to share with some people.
When did you understand that the thoughts would be shared?
If you had an understanding.
If I had an understanding, I don't know. I was, I was in I don't know, my frame of mind. I can only speak to you based on how I feel now about it. And I thought that if I had harmed myself in any way, that they would read it to my friends.
Such as if you killed yourself?
Yes.
You were suicidal that week, right?
Evidently, yes.
And you were on
Now,
suicide
I don't know
watch?
about that week, but I don't know. You say suicide watch. I wasn't aware that I was suicidal, so I don't know.
When you wrote that letter, though, you had thoughts of suicide, right?
I had thoughts of, I had thoughts of ending what I was feeling, yes.
Certain persons were keeping vigil over you to see that you wouldn't harm yourself. Is that right?
I really wasn't aware of that at the time, no.
Your sister?
I wasn't aware of that so much at the time. I knew that they were with me for support. I knew my sister was at, I only spent one night at Rockingham, and I knew she was there for support with me.
The one night you spent at Rockingham was
Yeah.
the 13th, the Monday night, right?
Yes.
Well, you summoned Paula Barbieri back from Las Vegas to be with you and to keep vigil over you. Is that right?
That's not correct, no.
Did you ask her to come back?
No.
Who did?
I don't know. I think she insisted on coming back.
On her own?
Pretty much so.
How do you know that?
Because she came back.
How do you know she insisted on coming back on her own?
I don't know.
Do you know
I
if
just-
anybody called her and asked her to come back?
I don't know. I know I wanted her there, but at the same time, I didn't want her there because of all the press that was hanging around. So I did. I was glad she came.
Did you ask anybody to call her?
I don't recall doing that. No.
Did you ask Kathy to do that?
I don't recall doing that. No.
Okay. What was the other basic, well, let me get back to this letter. When you wrote this, this letter, were you alone?
Yes.
And where were you?
I was sitting in my room. I guess was sitting in the room.
Bedroom?
I think I'd written it in a few places. I was just taking notes when I was not being bothered.
You wrote it in one sitting?
I don't think so. I'm not sure. I don't think so.
Did you write it all on the morning of the 17th of June?
Yes.
Yeah, you said you had thoughts of ending what you were feeling.
Mm-hmm.
What were you feeling?
A lot of pain.
What kind of pain?
Pain.
Pain over what?
My wife had been murdered, and I was being attacked.
By whom?
The media.
They were attacking you?
Yes.
Meaning they were blaming you?
No, they were attacking me during the week, saying things that weren't true.
You felt the media were saying things, attacking you that were not true.
I knew they were. I saw it on TV.
What were they saying about you?
Just various things.
Well, can you tell us back then what you were thinking that was being said about you that was untrue?
Just how I was reacting. One guy, I think Jim Avila, did a report that I was in Chicago when I arrived there. I was loud and boisterous and as if I was trying to be noticed, which was a flat-out lie. And I'm sure you talked to the people in Chicago when I arrived, and they made that clear that I was anything but loud and boisterous. But things of that nature, I can't recall them all.
Were you feeling you were being attacked in the sense that you believe the press was pointing the finger at you as the person who killed Nicole?
I can't say the press in general, just a few things that I had heard because I stopped watching it after a while.
But the gist of it was that these few things were pointing the finger at you, right?
My pain was for Nicole more than what they were doing. That was just all a part of it.
The loss of Nicole?
Yes,
You loved her?
very much.
And you loved her on June 12th?
I loved her. Yeah, I didn't want to live with her, but I loved her, yes.
And you loved her so much that you were prepared to kill yourself?
Well, that's argumentative. Don't answer that.
why.
You loved her so much that you were feeling so much pain that you had thoughts of ending your life?
I just had pain for a lot of reasons, for everything that was going on that week, yes.
Well, besides the loss of Nicole and your feeling of being attacked, was there any other source of your pain?
Just everything that was going on was my source of my pain.
What do you mean by that, everything that was going on?
Everything that was going on?
Can you be more specific?
No.
Do you mean in the sense that people were blaming you?
No, I just mean everything that was going on, and I can't be more specific.
You cannot tell us anything more than that?
No.
What was the other note that you wrote?
It wasn't a note, it was an amendment to my will.
Who did you give that to?
I believe I directed it to be given to Skip Taft.
Did you write it in your own hand?
Yes.
What did you change?
I don't recall.
Did someone tell you to change your will?
No.
Was it your own idea?
Yes.
Did you write it on a blank piece of paper?
I believe so.
And who did you give that, how many pages was it?
I don't recall.
Who'd you give it to?
I believe whoever I gave the other letter to.
What did you tell that person about the second envelope?
I think I put Skip Taft's name on it.
Was it an envelope?
I believe so, yes.
Did you write any other notes or letters that morning?
Not that I recall.
What about that week prior to the 17th? Did you write any other notes or letters for people?
No.
Were your children there with you?
No.
Were your children with you at all during the week of the 13th?
Yes.
What days?
They came on the 14th and left on the 15th.
Came to,
Bob Kardashian's home.
and they stayed over?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you again, Mr. Simpson.
I'm sorry. Bob Kardashian's home.
Now, the 14th was a Tuesday, right?
Yes,
Children came to your house on Tuesday and they left on Wednesday. Is that what you're saying?
that's correct.
And they slept over Mr. Kardashian's house?
Yes.
And by your children, are we talking about Sydney and Justin?
Yes.
Okay. And who brought them both ways?
Al Cowlings.
And they were at the Brown residence in Dana Point?
That's correct.
Okay. So Mr. Cowlings was with them in Dana Point, brought them to the Kardashian house, and then brought them back to Dana Point on Wednesday?
That's correct.
Okay. Did he bring anyone else with him other than Sydney and Justin?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. The last time you saw your kids before you were arrested was Wednesday?
No.
Saw them at the funeral?
Yes.
I see. That was Thursday, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did you write any notes or letters out to your children that week?
No.
Did you write any checks that day?
No.
Did you give Mr. Cowlings any envelopes with anything in them?
I don't really think so, other than if he was the guy I gave the letter to.
Okay. Did you give Mr. Cowlings a sealed envelope with 6 checks in it?
No.
Do you know whether Mr. Cowlings had a sealed envelope with 6 checks in it
No.
on the 17th of June?
No.
You have no knowledge about that?
No.
After the, you did some basic writing, they took some pictures of you. What else did you do that morning?
Nothing else I can recall.
Did you say goodbye to anybody?
No.
You were anticipating going off to jail, right?
Yes.
And would not know when you would return, right?
Yes.
Now, you did not wait for the police, but left, right?
Correct.
And you left with whom?
Al Cowlings.
What time did you leave?
I have no idea.
When you left with Mr. Cowlings, you left the Kardashian residence in Mr. Cowlings' Bronco, correct?
Correct.
Parked in the driveway, right?
Correct.
And did you tell anyone that you were going?
No.
Did they, to your knowledge, did they know that you were going?
Well,
No.
That calls for respect.
Not to my knowledge, no.
Why didn't you tell them you were going?
I didn't think about them.
You knew the police were coming, though, right?
Yes.
And you knew that if you left, you would not be there when they arrived, right?
I didn't know they were coming. I knew that I was supposed to be going down there.
Supposed to be going to the police station.
Yes.
And you knew by leaving the residence and you wouldn't be going to the police station then, right?
Well, I don't know.
You can answer.
That's argumentative, but go ahead.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Can you please repeat it?
Question, and you knew by leaving the residence you wouldn't be going to the police station then, right?
Correct.
In other words, you didn't ask Mr. Cowlings to take you to the police station, right?
Correct.
Whose idea was it to leave?
Mine.
And why did you leave?
Because I wanted to go to Nicole's grave.
Did you ask your lawyers if you could go there first?
No.
Your representatives?
No.
Did you ask them to ask the police if you could go there first?
No.
You just took it on yourself to leave?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Because I wanted to go to her grave.
And did you go to her grave?
Yes. Well, we never made it there because there was a police car blocking the entrance.
They wouldn't let you in?
Well, AC saw him and avoided going in.
Do you know what time you left the house?
No.
Do you know, when you left the Kardashian house, and you got in the truck, where were you sitting?
In the passenger seat.
Visible to anybody who would look in?
Yes.
And did you remain in the passenger seat all the way down to the gravesite?
Yes.
Did you make any phone calls from the car?
I believe so.
Who did you call?
I don't remember totally, but I know I called Nicole's house. And then I know I called some other people, but I don't recall who.
When you say Nicole's house, do you mean the condo? I mean the place on Bundy?
Yes,
Who'd you speak to there?
Lou Brown.
He was staying there?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
He was there. Yeah,
What did you tell Mr. Brown?
I don't recall.
Did you call anybody else?
I know I did, but I don't recall who.
Did you call Mr. Taft?
I may have. Yes,
Why'd you call Mr. Taft?
I don't recall.
Did you drive directly to the gravesite?
Yes,
And how long did it take to get there?
I don't know.
Did you make any stops?
Well, there was. I think there was and I've just heard this from AC that there was a dump truck that had turned over, so we sat on the freeway for quite a while.
Which freeway?
I believe it was the 405.
For how long did you sit there?
I don't know.
Half hour?
I can't say. I really don't know.
And the whole time you were in the passenger seat?
Yes.
Okay. And when you got to the, did you get to the entrance of the cemetery?
Where we can see the entrance, yes.
What's the name of the cemetery?
I don't know.
How close did you get to the entrance?
I don't know, a couple hundred yards maybe.
And why did you not go through?
Because there was a police car blocking it.
Did you approach the officer and ask if you could go through?
No.
Were you listening to the radio at all?
No.
Did you believe at that time that you were a fugitive?
I didn't give it a thought.
Did Mr. Cowlings tell you that?
No.
Did you believe that the police were looking for you?
I really didn't give it a thought, but
You've answered the question.
no, I really didn't give it a thought.
Did you believe that if you went up to the officer and asked to be let through, that he would have prevented you from doing so?
He's asking for your state of mind on the 17th of June, 1994. If you thought the officer would have prevented you from going into the cemetery.
Probably.
And why did you have that belief?
I don't know. I think AC believed that, and I'm pretty sure I believe that too.
When you asked Mr. Cowlings to take you to the cemetery, what did he say?
Come on.
Did he try to talk you out of it?
Not at all.
He understood that you were supposed to go to the police station to be turned in, right?
Well,
You'd have to ask him that.
Did you believe he understood that?
I believe that he probably knew that, yes.
Did you and he discuss what you would do after you left the cemetery?
No.
Did you have a plan at that time?
No.
Did you know what you were going to do after you left the cemetery?
No.
Did you bring anything with you?
Yes.
What did you bring?
That I was aware of, 3 pictures of my family and a gun.
What was the second thing?
A gun.
Did you plan to commit suicide at the cemetery?
I didn't know what I was going to do.
Did you plan to commit suicide after the cemetery?
I never thought of it to that extent.
Did you have in your mind when you would end your life?
No, no.
Was the purpose of the gun to use to end your life if you saw fit to do so?
I'm sure that was part of it, yes.
Where did you get the gun?
From my, actually from my car,
Which car?
my Bentley.
The Bentley was at Rockingham, right?
Hmm.
You have to answer.
Yes,
And how did the Bentley get from Rockingham to Mr. Kardashian's home?
it didn't.
You stopped off at Rockingham and picked up the gun?
No.
Well, explain to me how you got the gun.
I was curious when I got home from the police station because I told the police that the gun was in my Bronco, and at that point no one had told me how Nicole was murdered. And I was curious if the gun was still in my car, and at one point, I don't know who, I asked somebody to go look in my back seat and get a little case, and they got it, and it was the gun.
When you said that you told the police the gun was in your Bronco, you're referring to the statement
The
you gave to the
Bentley.
detective? I'm sorry, when you told the police... Your prior answer was that you told the police that the gun was in your Bronco.
Well, I meant Bentley,
You meant Bentley?
yes.
When you said, when you said that that you told the police that the gun was in your Bentley, are you referring to the statement that you gave to Detectives Van Adder and Lang?
Yes.
And when you left the police department, you went back to Rockingham and you had someone go into the Bentley to see if the gun was still there.
Eventually, not quite the way you said it, but eventually.
That day?
Yeah, later that day,
And
yes.
who went into the Bentley for you?
I don't recall.
Who'd you ask to get the gun?
I don't recall.
Did the person bring it to you?
Not the gun, they brought the case that it was in to me.
A gun case?
No,
What case are you referring
it's just a little case it used to be carried in.
to? Leather bag? What was it?
It was like a little violin case,
A violin case?
like a miniature violin case.
A hard case?
Yes,
And what did that case have in it?
a gun,
What else?
that's it.
Bullets
I'm sure bullets, yes.
in the gun?
Yes.
Okay. Now,
Do you need to go?
when,
I think you can only get out.
yeah, you just
wanna
go
take-
out that way just to make it easier.
To the left?
Yeah. Yeah, just keep going left, okay?
Well, is this a good time? Let's take this break. We've
Okay.
been going for an hour,
Okay,
20,
that's fine.
15 minutes.
I want to go back to where we were, Mr. Simpson, concerning the retrieval of the gun. Do you remember what time you got back to Rockingham from the police station on the 13th of June?
From my office, they wouldn't let us go directly back to Rockingham. If I had to guess, it's a guess, roughly 6 o'clock maybe.
You went from the police station to your office in Brentwood?
Yes.
And then you went to Rockingham.
They told us it was all right to come to
Come
Rockingham.
back. Can you guys hear down there? Yeah.
I went
You just need to keep your voice up.
from the police station to Rockingham, and then I believe it was Lang said it was all right, or Van Adder one, when I called my home to come home.
Okay.
And you just said you went from the police station to Rockingham. You
No, I'm
meant
sorry,
to your
to my office in Brentwood, and then to Rockingham.
And when you, who drove you from police station to the office?
Either Bob Skip, Bob Kardashian, or Weissman.
And from the office to Rockingham, who drove you?
I don't know, probably Bob or Skip. I don't really recall.
Bob being Bob Kardashian.
Kardashian,
And
yes.
Skip being Skip Taft.
Yes.
And when you got to Rockingham, you then asked someone to go look into the Bentley for the gun because, why?
May have been a little later. I didn't
Later
do
that evening?
immediately, yeah, because I was curious
What were you curious about?
if they took the gun out of my car,
They being whom?
the police officers.
Why did you want to know that?
It was just curious. Some people were murdered, and I had a gun in my car.
Now, was it your suggestion to get the gun?
I asked someone to go look and see, to bring me, if there was a case in the back of my car, would they bring it to me?
In the trunk?
No, in the back seat, behind the front seat.
Is that where you kept it?
Yes.
And who retrieved it for you?
I don't recall who.
No idea?
No.
What was in the trunk of that Bentley?
And you're
If I
talking
could-
again on the 13th?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you exactly, but I know some clubs and some balls were in there, and some other paraphernalia.
On the evening of June 12, and on to the day of June 13, you knew that there were some clubs and some balls and other
Yeah, I was-
paraphernalia in the trunk of the Bentley. Is that right?
I would assume they were still there on the 13th, yes.
Okay. You last left the trunk, clubs and balls and other paraphernalia in the trunk?
Well, last time I looked in my trunk, some balls were left in and some I took out. And there was a bunch of junk back there, but a lot of clubs, yes.
Lots of clubs,
Yes,
golf clubs.
yes.
When was the last time you looked in the Bentley? Before June 13?
And you're
That
referring to
night,
the
Sunday
trunk.
night,
Trunk of the Bentley.
Sunday night, the previous night.
What time?
10, a little after 10, a little before, in that area.
PM?
PM, yeah.
Okay, let's go back now. When, at the point in time on the evening of the 13th that you had someone go into the Bentley to get the gun, did you not know how Nicole had been killed?
Yes.
You did not know,
I
right?
did not know.
Did you believe that she had been killed by a gun?
I didn't know.
Did you believe that that was even a possibility?
Obviously, yes.
Did you have any information that she had been killed through the use of a knife?
Not at all.
Did you ask anyone how she was killed?
I asked the police on many occasions what happened, and they continued to tell me that they didn't know, and they were still investigating.
Did you see press reports and television programs during the day about this?
Once I got
Day
home,
of the 13th?
Yes, before you went and asked that the gun be retrieved.
I knew that when I got home, we put on all 3 TVs. Just about every TV in the house was on, and you know, the press didn't seem to know much more than anyone else at that time.
There were no reports that she had been killed, perhaps by a knife?
None that I had seen, no.
So you had no information whatsoever how she had been killed, is that right?
That's correct.
Were you told that she had been murdered?
Yes. Basically, yes.
And that's all you knew,
Yes.
as of the evening of June 13th, correct?
Yes.
Did you ask anyone else besides the police how she had been killed? Bob Kardashian, Skip Taft, anyone else?
I may have, during the course of the day, as I came in contact with people, I think everybody was trying to ask everybody what happened, what did they know.
And nobody had any knowledge about how she was killed as of that point in time?
No.
Okay.